What is up, winning team? Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today, we're going to be reading Revelations chapter 17. Revelations chapter 17. I'm so excited for this. I'm so interested to see what the Lord has in store for us. Holy Spirit, please be with us. If you don't know why we're doing this, please check out the first video in my playlist where I explain exactly what this is all about. But basically, we're reading through the book of Revelations. A lot has happened since we started the series. So let's get straight into it, guys. So this is from the ESV version in the Bible, ESV, English Standard Version. That's what ESV stands for. So chapter 17. Then one of the seven angels who had the seven bowls came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute who is seated on many waters." Oh my gosh. Okay, let's come back to this. "With whom the kings of the earth have committed sexual immorality, and with the wine of whose sexual immorality the dwellers on earth have become drunk. And he carried away in the spirit into a wilderness." And he carried me away, in the spirit into a wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names, and it had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet. I just realized something about one of my dreams I've had this year. Well, actually, it was the first vision, or last year, it was the first vision I ever had. And the purple and scarlet thing, oh my gosh, because I've been asking God why. Anyway, crazy, purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and jewels and pearls, holding in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the impurities of her sexual immorality. And on her forehead was written a name of mystery: Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes and of earth's abominations. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints, the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. Wow. I have so much to say about this, guys, about how this relates to the time we're living in today. Like, I've got so much to say about this. "When I saw her, I marveled greatly, but the angel said to me, 'Why do you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns that carries her. The beast that you saw was and is not, and is about to rise from the bottomless pit and go to destruction. And the dwellers of the earth, whose name have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, will marvel to see the beast, because it was and is not and is to come.'" This calls for, so it was, it is not, but it is to come. So it's saying it existed in the past, it exists in the future, but it's not in existence right now. That's interesting, because God always refers to himself as he who was, who is, and who is to come. So there's this thing about the present. Now, my brain is going crazy, because I'm thinking already what was being said here is that this beast, and I truly believe this to a large extent, this is one of my crazy theories about the end times, that we are going to see a beast from before. Like, that's what I'm kind of suggesting when I'm talking about all this stuff in the sea, and whether God spoke about the sea creatures dying or not after the flood, which he specifies all the other creatures. He doesn't say anything about the sea. And now we see that now God kills that all that is in the sea. I just find it fascinating that in the cataclysm that took place 12,400 years ago, in which, according to archaeologists, according to scientists, what happened was a bunch of meteors flew from outer space that hit Earth after our last ice age, which caused a lot of the ice to melt, and therefore a flood all over the Earth, which increased the sea level 400 feet from where it used to be. So there's a lot of things, guys, that if you think about that, right, if you actually think about that eventuality, whether you believe it is the flood from the Bible or the archaeological, which, by the way, the archaeologists, although this is what their research is proving, they don't want to acknowledge it. And the reason why they don't want to acknowledge it is because it means, if it's true, that basically is saying that we would have to throw away our understanding of ourselves as humans, because our understanding, the thing that us scientists and, whatever of the world believe, is that we are the most intelligent form of humans that have been before, the most intelligent form of intelligence that has been. We are evolving, right? So if we are to acknowledge whatever could have been in existence prior to that cataclysm 12,400 years ago, well, that would suggest that there was potentially a technology or a society or a species that was more advanced or intelligent than we are. Now, isn't that an interesting thought? Now, they don't want to think about that now, but for me, what I find fascinating is that when that all was finished, if you look around the entire world, you will find that all over the world, in all of these caves, in all of these pyramids and this, that, and the other, they are pointing to a specific date and a specific time, which is when this cataclysm took place 12,400 years ago. I know, guys, this is what I'd be researching when I'm alone with the Lord. And then what that led to was after that. So after all of that, all the civilizations had these beings that arose from the sea, that came out from the sea with the civilization and technology of what we need to do next. And that was seen all over the world. So when I hear this, the beast that was, that is not, and is to come, I think this beast is probably a beast from a time like that, to be honest, because I actually believe that there's a whole lot of things to do with the sea in general, particularly on a even on a political country level. Like, let's take the kingdom of darkness out of it, or the biblical perspective out of it for a second. What I think people should actually look at when they're thinking about these wars and all this stuff, look at the ocean and look who's accessible to who from where, who has the most submarines, who has, like, in countries of the world. Because you'll then go to see that actually a lot of people have utilized the fact that the sea is a very important place when it comes to battle. And it actually reminds me of that song that they sing in the UK. In England, rule Britannia, Britannia rule the waves, right? Brits shall never, 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 never be slaves, right? That's the song. I just find it insane that this is the stuff. But anyway, think about that. Even if you look at countries like China, has probably the most submarines, because we've accepted now that according to current technologies in the world, this is why I believe our technology is not moving ahead as quickly. Wow, I'm really going all the way off with this one, but hey, let's just keep going, right? Here's the thing. We are very good at seeing what's in the air, but we still are lacking in technology within the sea. Now, let me give you guys an example of something that happened recently that would suggest that my theory has some merit to it. Because think about it. Recently, we had that whole situation where there was that boat that imploded, that submarine that imploded that was going to see the wreck of the Titanic. What does that suggest? Well, these level of extreme accidents are rather rare with a lot of the current technologies that we are trusting in. So, for example, I'll give you guys the polar opposite of that, which is an airplane. Airplanes and the whole functioning of how airplanes work and everything. We are very well knowledgeable about that. This is a very efficient system. It's incredibly impressive. I'm absolutely obsessed with airplanes. So yeah, I've researched it all, and the technology and the science is incredible. When it comes to the sea, we haven't got that far down, and it's hard for us to create things that can go that far down, and we are behind. Kind of suggests to me that if you are somebody who has an upper hand or has studied even just the sea as far as a war or a battle or preparation, that would be a good area to capitalize off of, because it's one that we as humans, as the human species that's currently alive today, are less proficient, less knowledgeable about, and less far in our technological advances. So you guys can see what I'm saying. Like, you can see what I'm saying, that I just find it interesting, this whole thing. And so what did even put me down this? Something to do with her spirit in the wilderness, scarlet, the woman arrayed in purple and scarlet. Purple again, which is a color, by the way, guys. The reason why there's an association with purple and riches, and I'm going to tell you guys where it comes from. It actually comes from the fact that the only natural pigment for purple comes from this sea creature that's like at the bottom of very super extremely rare. So back in the time of the Phoenicians even. So yes, the Phoenicians, who are known, by the way, for ruling the seas, trading. They were into child sacrifice. A lot of the stuff we see that the kingdom of darkness is doing today. Just saying. What used to happen is royalty would always have purple because it'd be a sign of wealth because of how rare it was that you'd have something that's naturally purple. This is obviously before the days of us having those technology that we do now, where there is a lot of purple that you can find that's not naturally occurring, like these sea creatures again. So we're talking sea creatures. Truly fascinating. Adorned with jewels and pearls, holding in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and impurities. Why did I get into the sea? Oh, because it was, is not, but is to come. Yeah, so I do think it could be one of those beasts, guys. That's what I'm saying. We'll see. Let's see. Let's keep going and let's see what the rest of the scripture has to say. So, verse 9, this calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman is seated. They are also 7 kings, 5 of whom have fallen. One is, the other has not yet come. And when he does come, he must remain only a little while. As for the beast that was, is not, and is an 8th, but it belongs to the 7th, and it goes to destruction. What does it say? What does that say? It belongs to the 7. As for the beast, and that was and is not, it is an 8th, but it belongs to the 7th, and it goes to destruction. And the 10 horns that you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received royal power, but they are to receive authority as kings for 1 hour together with the beast. These are of one mind. Listen to what the Bible says. This is insane. These are of one mind. They hand over their power and authority to the beast. They will make war on the Lamb, and the Lamb will conquer them, for he is the Lord of the lords and the King of kings, and those with him are called the chosen and faithful. So here we have again why I refer to myself as a queen, because Jesus is the King of kings, okay? Jesus is the King of kings. Jesus is my king. It just so happens he's the King of kings, which means I still get to be a queen. Just saying. Verse 15, and the angel said to me, the waters that you saw where the prostitute is seated are peoples and multitudes and nations and languages. And the 10 horns that you saw, they and the beast will hate the prostitute. They will make her desolate and naked and devour her flesh and burn her up with fire. For God has put it into their hearts to carry out his purpose by being one of one mind and handing over their royal power to the beast until the words of God are fulfilled. And that woman you saw is the great city that has dominion over the kings of the earth. That is insane. That is insane. Because I think when you read the Bible as well, like what I'm thinking is we have a tendency to try to over understand the scriptures to the point where we just miss what God is actually saying. Because here, what he's saying, he says, for God has put into their hearts to carry out his purpose by being of one mind and handing over their royal power to the beast. Like, I'm not going to say what I've written in my notes inside my Bible, but what I will say is, again, we see the importance of the participation of the humans. And that's one thing that I think I find severely interesting about God of the Bible over other gods, is that God of the Bible is very much like, listen, your life, you have a part to play in it. Like, I am God. I am the God. I am the one and only God. I am the one and only true God. I am the most high God, whichever version you need to say to understand who God truly is. However, I have actually decided to give you free will. So it's actually up to you to do what you need to do and do it right. You know what I'm saying? And so here it's like we can give over our power. We can give our power to the kingdom of darkness. And that's what I think sometimes we don't realize. Sometimes, obviously, the kingdom of darkness wants to make us think that we're just automatically in this like prison to the kingdom of darkness, that there's nothing we can do. We're written off. God is upset with us. God is done with us. You know what I'm saying? All these things. And in reality, you guys, we're the ones with the power, and we can amplify the movement of whichever kingdom we choose, if we choose to do so. The thing is that the kingdom of darkness makes us think we don't have a choice. And by not having a choice, they're right, because what they mean is you're going to be enslaved to us, so you won't have a choice because you'll be being controlled. And then we as humans think that we're actually in control of our own lives, when in reality we're not in control, because we're being controlled by ourselves and by our flesh, which is exactly what was the result of us eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because then now we think we know, but we don't know. We wonder why our lives are a certain way and we don't have certain answers. And I often think to myself that it's largely, I'm sure, because we think we know more than, we don't even know what to ask. We don't even know what questions to ask. This is why I think when we talk about prayer and God, like, it's funny because I think a lot of us are praying prayers that, like, and I think a lot of people do. A lot of people say, like, about why they're struggling with God and stuff. I can see that, like, well, the way you're even coming to God is already incorrecto. As in, like, he's not like these other people. You know what I'm saying? You have a thing. So when you're trying to pray your prayers and you're wondering why your prayers are not being answered, it's because you haven't even got it yet. You don't even understand what it means, like, to pray, because you have these assumptions that God should do things the way you want or what you're asking for, but actually he has a way better plan than you do. So when God isn't answering our prayers, he's actually doing us a favor, because he's like, I imagine, like, all of us, I'm sure, have been in situations where you think, if I had this thing that I wanted at that point or whatever, that wouldn't have been for the best. I would never have turned out to be the best version of myself. You know what I'm saying? And so I just thought I would throw that in there. And the woman you saw is this great city that has dominion over the kings of the earth. I already have my theories about what city I would say that is, because I do believe that there is I do believe, guys, I think about every single country, even when I'm traveling, even when I'm there to assess do you know what's funny? I'm probably there to assess what the kingdom of darkness is doing, and just to feel the spiritual energy, because, like, at this point, obviously I have a relationship with God where me and God, we talk, we're like, you know, we have our thing going on. And so when I go to places, I'm particularly at these places also because I'm like, I want to get a vibe for, like, what is it that we're doing here? Like, I want to get a vibe for what kind of energy do I feel here? Do you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like that's so important in, like, life and in places that we live. You've got to be able to assess the enemy where you're at. And I'm not gonna lie, like, traveling around this year, which I haven't traveled to loads of places, arguably there's many people who wouldn't have gone to, like, 4 different countries this year already. Is that how many countries I've been to this year? Yeah. But I've touched all of a few places, and I've just learned a lot, like, about the world and Kingdom of Darkness. And I think people underestimate the workings even of darkness in their own individual communities, and how much it's just painted into society, how much what the Bible is talking about is part of tradition. Because the thing is, guys, and I think this is something that God is actually bringing a lot of attention to, at least he has with me, and I see it happening more even so with the greater church at large, is that we have this thing about us as humans that we build these things called traditions. And traditions are not things that come from God, because godly traditions are not traditions. They are the laws of God. But we have stuff that we do traditionally, and what ends up happening is that down the road, down the generations, we don't know why certain traditions started, or even customs. It could be customs, local or cultural customs, things that we do that we don't actually know why we do them, but we just do them because that was the thing that kind of happened in order for us to get to where we are today. And so, for example, there was a lot of things that, you know, actually, let me not start getting into historical stories that I'm not 100% on. Not that I'm 100% on anything other than God, but anyway, we do that as a society. And so sometimes we're the ones in our own traditions, in our own day-to-days, that are doing the things that are working against the things that we want to do. We don't realize what kingdom we are aligning ourselves with. And I see that with a lot of different groups around the world. It's one of the reasons why I'm dedicated to the winning team, because I'm like, I need to be with and around and for the people who are prepared to see the truth for what it is. You know what I'm saying? And in your own journey, in your own time, in your own way. Don't get me wrong, in a sense. When I say in your own way, I mean, like, for me, the Bible is the thing that we all must agree upon at the end of the day. But I think everybody's on their own journey. I think God has a reason why he takes everybody down their own roads. Anyways, guys, I'm talking loads and loads and loads. The great prostitute. Yeah. Guys, it's funny that he's talking about in this bit about the sexual immorality in particular, because I kind of find that is what has us in a chokehold as society. We're just so very sex focused as a society. Like, it's to the point now where I'm kind of like, it's a bit uncomfortable now. Like, is there really nothing else for us to talk about? Like, sometimes I kind of feel like that on social media. Like, there's something nice about not just talking about certain things with everybody. Is that just me? Is it just me who thinks that there's something special about not talking about these types of things and just everyone and making jokes about it? I don't know. I feel like maybe it's because I'm a woman, but like, I feel like there has to be an element of you just don't do this with everybody. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. And then even from the, like, it's just kind of made it like not a special thing anymore. I kind of feel like all of us adults have decided to downgrade ourselves and become 15-year-old boys who just started to like experience puberty. You know what I'm saying? Like, just shut up, guys. Like, let's just, I don't know. Is it just me? Is it just me? Because sometimes I just want to watch a cooking video. I don't want to hear all these innuendos. I just think, come on, guys. Let's do better. I don't know. Some things in society, I kind of think like, I thought we were supposed to be more mature as we get adults. I thought maturing was that you can actually joke with having good points and funny points to joke about and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, what happened to growing up? I mean, I'm only 26. Go figure. Who am I to even comment? But I just think it's kind of silly. Like, I'm not going to lie. But that's what I'm saying. Like, the sexual immorality thing, like, as a society, I don't know what it is about that has us under such a chokehold. And to me, all it proves to me is exactly what I already believe, which is exactly what I'm saying. We're in bondage. We're enslaved. We're slaves to our own flesh. Like, when I hear people arguing for reasons for why that they, I don't even want to get into this because it's going to get crazy. Let's just leave it there. So that was Revelation 17. There's so much stuff that could be said, guys. The Bible is such a big book, and like, I can only share what I'm feeling, what I'm hearing, what I'm whatever, but you have to read the Bible for yourself. But it is interesting to me how we have this story about the beast. And like I said, there's nothing in the chapters that saying that we just read that is suggesting particularly that it's coming from the sea. But for some reason, it just popped into my brain. And I know that there's other parts in Revelations we're going to get into where there is something coming out from the sea. I just find it fascinating. I don't know. I just think that if I was the kingdom of darkness and I wanted to exist in person on earth undetected, I would be in the sea, because that's where nobody can get to. And that's where technology, where humans are still behind. So really, you could live your own. I know this makes me sound crazy, but one day, I know I won't sound crazy. One day, there's going to be so many things that I've said. I'm sure that some people are going to like one day wish that they took me seriously, you know. But anyway, imagine they can just live and do what they're doing because we can't get to where they are, which means if the kingdom of darkness has been planning for this long, it's sea strategy, it's marine strategy, which I very much think is a possibility, because imagine if God retaliated the way that he did to the dysfunction that was happening in the earth. Obviously, guys, because we're in a competition, because we're in a game, the opposition is always going to go back and try to find a more powerful way to fight back the next time. That's what we're all doing in a fight. That's what happens in your training, in winning, in competition. When you have had your moment, when you've had battle day or when you've had race day, whatever day that it is, afterwards, depending on what happens, everybody goes back to the drawing board to then go step forward and to improve and to find a way so that next time, at the next juncture where these things come together, right, that everybody is prepared. And again, this is why I was even saying in yesterday's video about you got to hustle harder than your own enemy, because obviously they're going to be preparing. In the same way you should be preparing for the future opportunity, because that's what happens in life. And therefore, it would be a very viable suggestion, a very viable theory, hypothesis to suggest that the kingdom of darkness might have done that in the sea. It's a very reasonable suggestion. I don't know, guys. I know I sound like a Looney Tune, but just hear me out and just, I don't know, see what you give what I said a second thought before you shut it down, because maybe I'm onto something, maybe I'm not. Even if I'm not, hopefully you enjoyed me reading out loud the book of Revelation chapter 17. I will see you guys tomorrow, or the next day, I should say, when we continue. If life's a game, let's play to win. God bless every single one of you guys watching, and I'll see you in my next one.